Hello everyone, welcome to CRM. Today's class is going to be, it is about when you're comparing pre and post images. Always you'll come up in a situation where you have to compare a lot of attributes. So I'll tell you about some of the helper functions you can write, which can be reused, and what all type of the fields that we have to compare the attributes in CRM. We can take a look at those. Okay, so the class is going to be on the pre and post image comparison and the helper classes that we can use um, to do the comparison, and for each type of an attribute what will be the helper method. Okay, so why waste time, let's get started. This method is going to be the key one, and then this will go, once the code reaches this method, it will go and call the other helper methods that I have by each type of the attribute. Okay, my data setup is on an account. This plugin is registered, and on the update of the account, this will trigger, and I have set filtering attributes to fire only on these four fields: account owner, name change, parent account, and fax. You can have your filtering attributes to set based on your requirement. For this sample, I'll be using the name attribute change, and walk you through the code and show how you can reuse this. Okay. I have my CRM account. I'll try to do a name change, and I'll hit save. This will be the first sample when you're doing a comparison for pre to post. Most of you might know this. When you register your plugin step, you have to do the images as well. But I do want to start from that basic point. So right now I had set up the plugin, but I haven't given the pre and post images. So this plugin will execute and give a business process error. As you can see, it already has given, and you can see the given key was not present in the dictionary, right? And if we try to do download log file and open it up, so you can see the log here. Whenever you see given key is not present in a dictionary, when you have a your plugins are expecting images, then that's an indication that your plugin step is missing the image registration. So let's go to plugin registration tool. If we check here, see I have my plugin step, but I do not have any images registered here. Okay guys, so anytime you want to use the pre and post image comparisons, always make sure you register your plugin and you add images. Okay, so right now I'm adding the image. And for this sample I'll only use the account name. Let's add the post image as well. Alright, so my images are registered. Let's go ahead and reattempt the save. This time it should go in properly, and as expected the save has completed. What I'm doing on this plugin is I'm writing some trace. So I will pull up the plugin trace log. I've already enabled it, If you guys don't know how to use it, let me just quickly tell you. So you might have noticed the navigation. I went to settings, administration, and if you go to system settings, under customization, you'll see enable logging to plugin trace log, and you have three options. Off means even if your plugins, custom workflow, anything has tracing information in it, it won't log anything in that entity. If you say exceptions, any exceptions that are unhandled or the code break happens, those exceptions happen in the plugin, then only the plugin will write the log. If you put it to all, every plugin that has execution will be logged in the plugin trace log. So it is highly recommended that in production environments you keep this turned off. When you are doing development efforts, keep this turned on to all, and this way you can do better error handling on your end and make sure your code is working good. Okay, so I will have it to all for now. So that's what I did before. So if I go back, this is an advanced find I have. What I'm doing is I'm just getting from plugin trace log entity all the trace logs, and yeah, we have the 1033. So if I open that, you can see everything that I have on my plugin, and this is my trace information, my custom trace information, right? So that's how you know that your plugin has executed successfully, because I'm not seeing anything in the exception details, right? If I go back to the ones prior to this where I was throwing a business process error, you will see the complete exception logged here, right? It doesn't have my tracing, the complete tracing, so it listed the exception details, and you can see the given key not present in dictionary, right? So first things first, yeah, you have your CRM plugin. Right now these are the four fields that I'm trying to uh, show you guys the comparison with, and I'll actually walk you through the other types also. Okay, so it's a basic setup, guys. You have already seen how I'm using the configuration information to read. If you haven't, go ahead and watch the video on our CRM1's channel for how to read configuration information from the plugin secure and unsecure configurations. Okay, so I'm just reading some config information there. The standard execute method, I'm just initializing the variables that I want to use, the context, tracing service, the organization service variable that I want to use, and I'm just making sure this is the account. And right now we have had this registered on the update. So once I come to the update, I'm getting the pre-image. You have noticed in the plugin step, right, I have the pre-image, the name, so that is the key. Post image, that's another key, right? So I'm reading from the context what is the pre-image and post image. Hopefully you all know this, but I'm just giving a quick walkthrough. And then I'm validating to make sure these are not null. Then the actual magic happens, right? I have a method here that is taking pre-image, post-image as parameters, and then tracing, is just the way I write my code. And if I want to turn this off, this is I'm reading from the config information. I'll use it later to switch that. If this is not true, then don't write any log. So that's how I usually use it. So let's step into this method. Notice that I have a variable declared to say attribute value changed. This is a very good way to write your code. So I'm defaulting this one to false. That means that nothing really changed, so this one returns false, and my check up top fails. so none of the code in the bottom executes. That means no change happened on the data wise, so we don't need to continue further with our code. Okay, so the first check I have is name change. If the value for the name has a change, right, I am comparing the pre and post values, and if this method, these are my helper methods: compare string attribute, compare lookup attribute. Once we step in there, you'll see more of them, but these are basically taking the same pre-image post image and actually which attribute we want to do the comparison, right? So here it's a string name attribute. We go back to the name attribute. This is the CRM name attribute name exactly, right? So that's what I'm passing here. So let's step in to see how we write this compare string attribute method. Okay, as you can see guys, I have a lot of helper methods. Good way to write your code, keep your code a lot cleaner. Do practice this way. You'll be very much appreciated at your workplace. Okay, so once I receive my pre-image post-image value here and the attribute is generic, here I'm passing the name for now, right? This one also gives a false by default. Only it will return true when it truly sees that the data has changed. So again, first step is to make sure that in your image object, the attribute that you want to do the comparison with actually exists in there, right? So that's what I'm checking. Pre-image contains, post-image contains. So both should have the value, right? And then I'm making sure that the attribute is not null in both pre-image and post-image. That's what the next step I'm doing, right? If pre-image.attributes, that string attribute, which would be here, name, is not null, and then post-image also has a value. So both pre and post has value, right? Then what I'm doing is I'm reading that value and storing it into a variable, right? So that's what. So pre-image.attributes, storing into string from pre-image, post-image.attributes name, which is the string attribute and then post-image. The next step is a simple comparison, right? So until this far we are just setting up our data. So this is the generic method, guys. You can pass any string attribute here. It will take the pre-image check, make sure the value exists, in post-image also that one exists, and once it's there, you're reading that value, storing it into a variable. So pre-image dot to lower, this is another good way. Always do comparison of string fields, casting it to a lower. This way, if you have any combinations in your strings where it has an uppercase and a lowercase, the comparison won't fail, right? So not equal to the post image. So post always takes the priority, right? That's after the change. What is the new value? Pre, what is the previous value? Correct? So if these two are not same, then definitely data change has happened. So that's why I'm returning value changed. I'm setting this to true, right? And if I come to the bottom of the method, I return the value change. Let's say nothing has changed here, right? These two are same. Then this value, it won't go inside this code line. So this is false. So my method up top will return false, right? So the calling method here, when it steps in here, if this equal to false, it is not returning true. So how many ever fields you want to do a comparison, you can keep extending it that way. That's why I have like another fax field, parent account owner. You can have this check for almost every attribute on the entity that you want to do the comparison with. Okay, so what will happen? These two values are same, let's say, then this value will never change to true, so it will return false. So the calling method, if false, then it will step out of this. Let's assume you didn't add all the information, all these other attributes here. So the particular compare pre-image to post image will also return false because we are not returning any other value here. So the plugin is telling that this, even though you have a pre-image, post image, and an update trigger came in, but what we are trying to trigger is a name changed, then only do some logic, but the name hasn't changed, so I'm not doing this logic. So it will come out of this code block, it doesn't go inside it, and done. Okay, that's the setup. So let me go back again. Let's say, for example, this particular method here will help you only when both pre-image and post-image has the values. You can have a null value before, and then somebody actually has put the value in there, right? Or it has a value and somebody now is removing. So these are the two other cases we have to cover. So pre-image contains the value, but post-image doesn't. This means that somebody has actually removed the value. That is the update they made. So we are saying that the value has changed, and this will return true. So it will go back here and it will return true. So the code will exit out of this method, come to this particular if condition line, and pre-image was not null, post-image was not null, but post-image, that particular field, there was a change, so this will pass through and start executing the code that we want to execute after these conditions are passed. Okay, that's the setup. So the next case is pre-image might not have a value for this, but post-image has a value. That means the value before we made the update was empty. Now it is carrying a value. Then I am returning true. So this particular method will return true. Same thing, code comes back. This particular method in the compare string with the name attribute, now you are returning true. So this particular method will return true. Pre-image is not null, post-image is not null. This method has returned true, so it will go inside and execute the block. Right? You understood the setup, how the code is, and what conditions and criteria we are trying to fulfill, and attribute that is of a string type in your code, right? You can simply go ahead and reuse that code. Right now you can see, right, facts change. All I'm doing is passing the same objects and then just passing which attribute that I want to have the comparison on, right? So that's that's the smart way to write the code. Can I make this method generic? Can I reuse this code? Reduce the amount of the code that you are putting together. Always think that way. Okay, so that's what it's simply I'll keep passing the string attributes. So now you know how to do a comparison in CRM for a string attribute, right? That's this particular method here. Okay, compare string attribute, you pass your pre-image, you pass your post-image, and you pass your attribute, and all you gotta do is check if pre-image has the attribute and post-image has the attribute. And another thing is you want to make sure that the pre-image attribute value is not empty or not null. Then read that value and do a lower and just do a not equal to, return true. That's about it. And then the two other criteria you have to obviously check is what if pre is empty, uh, pre has a value, post is empty, or pre is empty, post has a value. Okay, that's the setup for every type of attribute. Now let's see how I am comparing a lookup attribute, right? Let's say I had my plugin trigger on the parent account value change or account owner value change. So the code will come here, and it will hit compare lookup attribute, account owner attribute. Okay, what I have in the account owner attribute is the owner ID, so that's the right setup. So it will come here. Let's step into compare lookup attribute. This is also exactly the same type of setup, guys. I have three different sets of criteria to check. One is pre-image has the value, post-image has the value. Then make sure both of them, if there is a change, or pre has a value, post doesn't, then check that. Pre doesn't have a value, post has a value, check that. Okay. The only difference would be is the if condition where you're trying to do the check, right? That's the only difference. So see the setup, same thing. I'm passing what is the lookup attribute, what is the pre-image, what is the post-image. Tracing I already talked about. If I want, I'll add the trace lines. So you can see I have commented them. Okay, so I'm checking that pre-image contains that attribute, post both of them contain, and the value is not null in both the cases. Then I'm just reading that to a variable, and then from there I am actually getting the string value. Okay, and then doing the comparison with the entity reference. Same thing as if pre value doesn't match to the post, then I return true. The method will return true. Particular method here will return true. Again, the comparison to pre-image to post-image will pass. That means the particular condition passes and the code will execute. Okay, that's about it. Really, there we were doing the string dot to lower because it's a string attribute. Since it's a lookup attribute, we're doing an entity reference, getting the name of that particular attribute, and then just comparing with the pre to post, right? While we are here, we do have few other ways, right? Few other attributes in CRM. A Picklist, a Boolean. Okay, so same setup. Pre-image contains, post-image contains, pre-image contains, post not, pre doesn't contain, post contains. And you can see, since this is a Boolean, all I'm doing is, if this is not equal to the other one, so pre is not equal to post, then return true. If pre contains, post doesn't, then return true. If pre doesn't contain and post contains, then return true, right? Okay, so that's on the Boolean. And pick list, it is also similar way, guys, but the only way, other change you see is when you are trying to read the picklist values. You probably might have already know this one. You have to use formatted values, that the attribute to toString, so you're getting that to a string, casting it back to the string whatever is the picklist. So that's why I'm using these as a string. So that is the only difference. You can see the above string comparison one, I'm reading image.attributes, but since it's a pick list, I have to read formatted values. But the comparison that I'm doing is the same to the string and the pick list. Look at the code, and if you want to write it yourself, you have something to refer to. So this is the pick list attribute method. All four types: string, lookup, boolean, pick list. You can even extend this to integer, if you want to extend it to, so every data type that you have in CRM, you can extend this one. So it's a generic way of doing the comparison. This will really help you in terms of how your code is executed. A lot of the times you have integrations running, other process running. People will say, I was not supposed to have this plugin triggered here, I don't know why it is triggering. So always do a pre to post image comparison, and when you are comparing, use these helper functions. This way you'll be saving a lot of effort, and your code will be looking a lot cleaner. The execution time will be very much appreciated the way you have developed your plugin. So probably this has given time to see how the Picklist is set up. I'll give time. You can take a look at the Boolean attribute setup. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. Always think about how you can look up one for you, and if you guys want to give it a try, give it a try for integer. Now what I'll do is I will debug through for the name change, and I'll actually show you how these values will be treated. In order to do that, you all probably might know this, you have to install Profiler. I have talked in one of the classes as well. In the video, there is a video how to debug plugins in CRM Online. So if you don't know, go refer that video and learn about how to debug plugins. But I'm hoping that you all know this. There it is. Profiler is now installed. So I will start profiling on this. So let's go to our account. Okay, our account's there. The previous update I just added a 1 here, so I'll try to remove that. Since I have tracing on, when I try to save this, it will give me a business process error, which I have to save the file, and then I'll give that as an input so we can debug and then see. There it is. So let me do a download. It's here. Okay, so now I have my profile. I want to to debug this. Click the profile, go back to CRM once, right here, assembly location, CRM1 samples, bin, my assembly, so it's loaded. I won't hit start execution. I have to go back, attach to process. Plugin registration tool, attach. You can see it's attached. I'll put a break. Okay, so I have my breakpoint here. Let me add a breakpoint right here, right here, right here. Okay, so let's go back, hit start execution. Okay, our code hit the breakpoint. As you can see, our pre-image objects here. Let's see what we have on the attributes. There is only one because I'm only doing the one, so that's the name. I have the value here, so this is the pre-value, correct? Let me step onto the post image, attributes, value, editum, right? That's what we want. So if I let it go through, yes, it came here. Let's step into this guy. So let's add a break here, add a break here, right here, and step F5. And okay, so if I let it come in here, you can see the value has changed, and datum 1 to datum, right? This is exactly what we want our plugin to be, right? So if I come out of this, right, then it will return true, and done. Our plugin execution has completed, right? Alright guys, That's about it. Very simple, straightforward, cleaner code, and smarter, obviously. Okay, well, have a good day. Enjoy watching this video. Do let us know what you want to watch next. We'll see if we can come up with more of those. Okay, bye now.